Hey, welcome to episode number 82 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast. We are recording on August the 30th, 2020. My name is Eric. I'm the host of the show, based in Southern Ontario. I'm a hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, and computer geek. As a first responder, I've witnessed an over-reliance on emergency services during major events, and I started a small preparedness company to help people get better prepared and be able to look after themselves for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
Well, greetings from yet another undisclosed location. My name is Ian, and I live on Vancouver Island normally. I'm an outdoor enthusiast, sports shooter, and my farm's designated handyman.
Just trying to outrun the COVID, huh?
That's right.
If you want to help support the show and keep the Canadian Prepper Podcast on the air, you can buy a Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt at prepperpodcast.ca. You can also visit prepperpodcast.ca/support to see Amazon products that we recommend, or sign up and become a Patreon. All the proceeds help keep the lights on and the backup generator fueled.
All right, if you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes to like us on Facebook and submit a review on iTunes. Also, we want your feedback, good or bad, or if there's just a topic you want us to cover. We're getting short of topics, actually, so if anybody wants to contribute a couple good topics, we need some. You can certainly email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
And we've got some pulsing, of course not throbbing, content for you in this episode. We're going to start off with some preparedness-related news articles. Next, we'll let you know what we've done for our preparedness since our last episode. And then we're going to get into the main topic, electromagnetic pulses explained. And I'm happy I got through that without laughing.
It's pretty good.
Let's move into some news.
All right. Repeat of the previous episode, I actually put the old Forbes article on high-altitude EMP. It basically is a bit of a catch-all article. It talks about everything from actual man-made electromagnetic pulses to naturally occurring ones. And yay, President Trump. So he actually decided to open up a commission and start spending some money on seeing how the White House can prepare for the threat of EMP. So, yeah, good for him. And it's been ongoing now for a couple of years. So hopefully they've made some progress.
All right, I've got a news article here that I battled for and successfully won. So I've got an article that touches on saving weather radio. So if you've been listening to that in the last little while, apparently Weather Service Canada is looking at decommissioning some of the repeaters that provide weather information and updates to people via radio, so via VHF. And they're looking at decommissioning it in areas that have reliable internet and cellular service, citing that their apps and their website is accessible and easy to use, so they don't need to broadcast information via radio system. There is also a link that we shared on the Facebook page in regards to a petition that's going on to stop that from occurring. But there's a link here in regards to one of the repeaters looking to decommission, and they cite that they'll save about $12,000 a year in decommissioning it. So my thoughts on that are they start decommissioning the ones in the areas with reliable internet, whatever you deem that to be, and slowly they're going to start decommissioning all of them to the point that they won't exist anymore. So
yeah, not that I want to switch over to the other podcast for a second per se, but I mean, yeah, if they got $850 million to give away to the WHO just this year alone, they probably got enough money to maintain these repeaters. But more to your point, I mean, the repeater that actually is sitting on top of one of the local ski hills in Vancouver provides weather information, yes, to the city of Vancouver, but it also provides stuff to the other side of that hill. There's absolutely no cell service. So especially in like hilly country and everything else, it doesn't take much to get out of cell range, as you know. So basically, as soon as you round a corner and you're out of line of sight of that cell tower, you're done. And there's a lot of these repeaters that are providing like service not just to cities but also to sparsely settled areas. So I think that this is a slippery slope, and whether it just be for testing your antenna, even direction finding if it came down to it, if you want to find your way home. There's actually more than just one purpose to these things. I don't think you should be shutting any of them down at this point.
No, and I find it to be a little bit more updated as far as information goes, and a little bit more reliable and accurate information. And as well, if there's some kind of major event that's going to be happening, it's broadcast all the time. So it's a nice resource to have, and it's something that I find very useful. So I'd hate to see it disappear. So check out our Facebook page. There's a link there for the petition if you're interested in signing it, and read the news article as well if it's something you're interested in.
Yeah, especially like that. When do they ever ask government?
Yeah, exactly.
You had another one there?
So I got another one here. It is from iHeartRadio, and it's News Talk 1010. It's in regards to an incident last night. So That would be the 29th of August. There was a peaceful protest going on in Toronto in regards to business owners just protesting the building of an LRT in the area. Police were present for the protest. Everything was peaceful. Everything was fine. A person not involved in the protest ends up jumping on a vehicle. Police intervened. Second person attends and starts fighting with the officers. And the next thing you know, the protest turns into a mob mentality. And at the end of the day, 7 officers end up sent to hospital with injuries. Just a reminder that if you're out and about in the bigger cities or the smaller ones, with all the protests that are slowly starting to pop up all over the place now, mob mentality can go very quickly from peaceful and everything's good to hey, let's go get that guy. So keep your head on a swivel if you end up in the area where there's a protest going on.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that because it didn't sound too peaceful after it's all said and done there.
No, yeah, it certainly looks like it turned into quite the mob mentality, and it's very quick for peaceful demonstrations to all of a sudden switch into not so peaceful. So I thought it was a good example for everyone to see how quickly it can change.
Well, especially for the people that say it can't happen in Canada versus the States. So
yeah,
we're no better, no worse.
Yep, so, it's starting to happen here.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into what we've done lately for preps.
Completely unrelated note, we are looking for a sponsor. So if anybody wants to...
Yes. I think we lost you there, Ian.
Oh,
you're back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so so we are looking for a sponsor. If anyone is interested in sponsoring this section, we'd like to hear from you. So for myself, I finished off the first round of canning. So I got a bunch of hot peppers and some stuff from the garden, cucumbers from the garden, and I made a couple of jars of dill pickles and a couple of jars of hot peppers just to preserve the hot peppers because I won't go through them as quickly as the number of the ones that I got off the plant. Reorganized my go bag. So getting ready to swap it out for winter items. This was prompted by leaving it out in the rain. So, yeah, it's in the back of the truck, and left the back cover there for the truck open, and the skies opened up a little bit, not ready for that to happen. Didn't look like it was going to rain, and all of a sudden it was. So it was time to go through it anyways and reorganize it and swap some stuff out. So and dry it out because it got rained on. So and then speaking of water, I also brought in some professionals to redo our sump pump system. The flow in the basement into our sump pump pit has increased significantly over the last couple of months here. And it was time to bring someone in to have a look at it to see what exactly was going on and put in a new system and a backup pump so that we prevent any kind of basement flood because I might have some prep stuff down there. I don't want floating.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Yeah, that would not be good.
And I guess that's covered by your backup generator as well. But that's one of those things where you don't want to have it not powered.
Yes. Yeah. When they came in, that was the first thing they said is, what's your plan for backup? I went, oh yeah, don't worry. Got that covered. And, so they're like, oh, okay, so we don't have to put a battery backup in this. Nope. Got a generator in the back. And if it stops running, well, we got bigger problems to worry about. So,
well, that's actually good that they actually have battery backup systems in mind for those things. That's actually a good idea.
Yeah, I was impressed with the setup that they did have. Would run off of a battery, and there's 2 different pumps, and then a backup DC pump. That's just a small little one that would run for quite a significant period of time. So it was good to know they're thinking like that. But I've already got it covered off, so cool. Didn't need to spend a couple more $1,000 on the setup.
Cool. They
of course charge for the convenience having backup.
Yeah, of course. Let me know if I cut out here for sure. But so if we remember way back, episode 37, which I had to look back at, it was dated September 27th. So I probably did it about a week before that. I tried what they call glassing eggs. That was taking pickling lime and throwing a bunch of eggs in water and seeing how long they're going to be preserved. So the wife and I threw in 7 dozen eggs into the bucket, threw in the pickling lime, and we let them sit in my closet. And about 2 weeks ago, I guess, I started to notice a funky smell, and I was like, uh-oh, maybe I left it a little too long. And so what happened, though, is we opened it up, or my wife opened it up. All the eggs were fine, except for one. And it turns out that what happened was we put an egg in there with a hairline crack, and still took 9 months, 10 months, I guess. And then still only that one egg went off, and basically when she went to go touch the egg, it just disintegrated instantly. It was actually kind of funny. So, but the rest of the eggs remained perfectly good. So we pulled all the eggs out, and we hard boiled them just to take a look and see if they were like edible or this stinky or anything else. They were all good. So yeah, a loss of one egg over like better part of a year. And so yeah, all for the sake of basically one little package of pickling lime.
That's awesome. I wasn't quite sure exactly how that was going to work out.
Yeah, so it worked out well, and we fed some of the dogs first, and then the chickens and everything else to make sure that we weren't like making a mistake. But yeah, we. So as far as a non-refrigerated, shelf-stable, cheap way to preserve eggs, and you don't have to like heat it up or anything. It's just like room temperature water. That is certainly a way to go. So if anybody wants to check out pickling eggs, or sorry, pickling lime to what they call glass eggs, it's certainly a way to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we continued with the inventory that we were doing here with all of our supplies in anticipation of the what in the fall there, the second wave. And yeah, so just continuing on, because I mean, you're always picking from the inventory and you kind of forget to update it, and before you know it, you think you got 5 gallons of peanut butter and you got 1 jar and everything else. So anyways, it's
a lot of peanut butter.
Never enough peanut butter, really. Let's see here. I picked up a new toy, Cabela's. They had a little sale going on there, so a little blinker toy that for my Maple Seed events. That hopefully I'll go back and do a couple more. A poor workman, blames his tools when he screws up, but I actually did have a legit scope issue, so I sent in the scope for warranty work from Vortex, because just like Fiskars and everything else, the warranty is unconditional lifetime warranty for Vortex scopes. So it's on the way there for a fix. Let's see here. Planning a new build for my 22 next time, for if I go to another Maple Seed event, probably next year. And if they have another one on the island. So that should be fun. I'll probably give it progress on that over the course of the year. Knock down some trees for next year. So still working on that fire break part. Let's see here. I cut up some more deadfall that would already come down in some storms. I actually had one come down on me in the middle of the night about 2 weeks ago. Woke me up from a dead sleep, so had to cut up that one. And then started some preliminary plans for a solar system, inspired by our last guest there.
Yeah, I'm sad that I missed that episode, but I listened to it and I'm thinking about the same now.
Yeah, I missed about 80% of it myself, even though I was trying to be on it. But anyway, so yeah, no, I just thought I'd just do a quick battery backup system just to charge phones and do everything else in case I'm not immediately around to start the generators and everything else. Just as a kind of a proof of concept thing, and then maybe we'll work up from there.
Yeah, may as well start small, right, and build the system from there. It sounds like they're scalable from what I was listening to on the episode. So.
Well, yeah, or if you have different purposes or everything else, it's all.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
The theory.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me, though.
All right. Well, maybe we'll move into the main topic of the show then.
All right. So a quick recap. So we did the EMP episode before, back on episode 15, I think it was. We were new to the game. Yeah, we were new to the game. I think it was just Alan and I, maybe. I can't remember who else was on there, but yeah, we were just kind of touched on it briefly. But I mean, it's certainly a known phenomenon. It's a prepper favorite.
Oh, is it ever?
So it doesn't hurt to touch on it a few times, probably. But
no.
Yeah, so it's something we've talked about since, or Prepper World has talked about since basically 1962. It was confirmed by both the Russians and the Americans as a problem. I said we'll just give quick Cole's notes kind of recap here, then we'll get into some more stuff here. But detonation, either at high altitude or even in the vicinity, a solar flare. Or now you can even have these small EMP weapons called a Hemp or Champ or anything else that's being designed as we speak.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, that's the funny thing is they got airborne versions. They've got satellite versions. They've got all these things. They've got like truck mounted versions now. It's kind of crazy, actually.
That's not a red flag. I don't know what is.
Yeah. So couple key points for EMPs, though. Like I said, as just a bit of a recap. So they work on line of sight. So if there is an EMP high altitude, the higher the altitude, the larger the reach it's going to have. But in reality, it's like generally localized to a continent or smaller, depending on the height of the detonation. But if it's a solar flare, it sun, right?
Yeah.
The waves or the energy that's traveling with either one of these things is going to travel faster than the surge protector can protect. So if it is a gamma ray wave coming from a nuclear explosion, your surge protector is going to react about 10 times slower than the burst of radiation goes by. So by the time it's actually sensing something that's a problem, the circuits have already been blown through. So unfortunately, a lot of people think they're safe with surge protection and stuff like that, but no, won't happen. So fuses will still be intact even on a lot of them. Just unfortunately, the microchips and stuff will suffer. Let's see, another reminder: the bigger the circuit, the bigger the antenna. So, for example, if you're thinking like power lines leading to a substation, antenna, right?
Yep, sure is.
But if you got a compact fluorescent bulb or just an LED, if you look inside the little circuit boards on those things, the little circuit boards on there are like super small. So the antenna, like the electrical size of the antenna, is actually quite small. So there's a lot of talk going back and forth about what's going to be affected and what's not. But there's 3 pulses that have to go by on an EMP with that's man-made at least, E1 through 3. It's a bit of nerd talk here, but basically travel different speeds, different durations. To sum it up, and each one's going to have a different effect on machinery. But long story short, once all 3 roll through, which got some severe damage going. Yeah, you're toast. Solar part, coronal mass ejection, also crazy massive ejaculation from the sun. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
So somebody asked me what CME stood for the other day, and I was like, crazy massive. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also known as solar flares. The interesting thing about CMEs versus the EMPs is that they are going to happen. It's not a may happen or depends on how the political state of the Earth is doing. It's mathematically, it's a certainty. It's just it depends on which side of the Earth is facing the sun at the time. If the solar flare happens to go in the direction of Earth and everything else.
It's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. I mean, I put an article in the notes there that basically the couple key points of the CMEs is that they're a longer duration than EMPs. So they're going to be like sit there ionizing the atmosphere for quite a while. And I mentioned there, it's a 12% chance of one happening in the next 10 years, which isn't insignificant, I suppose. Interesting thing is, too, is even on like a missile strike, where you're going to have at least 45 minutes notice of somebody who's actually sending an EMP over, theoretically. This one, you'll have 8 minutes, assuming that you have a hotline to the astronomy or like the stereo observatory that's watching the sun, and they tell you first.
Yep. Chances are you don't have that.
So yeah, based on the speed that the CME would travel from the sun and the distance from the Earth, yeah, you're looking at about 8 minutes. We did talk a little bit about the Carrington event.
We did.
Yeah, so that was the largest geomagnetic storm on record. That was in 1859. Interesting enough, because the duration of it was actually able to energize the telegraph lines and provide power for the systems to work without actual power hookups for hours on end. So if you can imagine the amount of electricity that was sending out.
That's a fair amount.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a problem. Effects, I think you're going to talk about that probably more than I will, but anything with a computer, right?
Yeah, basically cashless society's gone, right? That's it. ATM's gone. Your debit card, Visa card, none of the machines are going to be able to operate to do any of those transactions. So we're back to cash, right? Cash and gold, silver, all that kind of stuff. If that's something that people are willing to trade for, but besides that, internet's down. All the communications are down. You're not going to be able to use anything but cash.
Yeah, I mean, the interwebs itself, I mean, I've heard of 1 or 2 things around on the internet, so,
Yeah, 1 or 2. I think these things called podcasts.
No more podcasts. Wait a minute. Yeah, I mean, everything from logistical supply chains to, traffic systems to, like, I don't know, air traffic control systems, everything else. No computers, no good luck with that. And I mean, most airplanes, when you think about it that way, too, I mean, how many of the computers are on board the average airplane nowadays?
Well, do you include the ones that everybody brings on with them?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of problems.
Lots, and because we're so relied on those items now too, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden they're gone. Now what?
Well, the other problem too is the actual replacement time. So these things get busted by an EMP, And you've got solid state transformers, very few moving parts, but they're just like a solid, individually designed transformer. Transformers are all the same based on the power coming in from either the dam or the nuclear plant or whatever. They all have specific electrical specifications that require are required for that substation. So basically, when you order a replacement one, you're talking like a 6 to 8 month lead time to show up. So if you had a bunch of these things go out, and of course they're all made in China, or overseas at least, they're gonna have to like be made, and then they're gonna have to be shipped over. Everything else, so like the whole idea of like a quick fix after an EMP is completely ludicrous, right?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So and of course, half those ships delivering those large transformers were on GPS to get here.
Oh, it's a computer. Look at that.
And GPS. It's a constellation of satellites, but you need at least 4 to get a fix. But in reality, like should be no less than 13 on one side of the Earth at any given time. So whether it be a CME or an EMP, all those GPS satellites are going to be offline.
And your GPS receiver is going to be fried too.
And your GPS receiver is fried. So
yeah.
But just a quicker rule of thumb, the bigger the substation component that you're going to see blow out, the longer the replacement time. So, if you see a little, street side transformer go, that's one thing. They probably have, hundreds of spares floating around. But in reality, those big giant ones, they're the power dams. If one of those goes, it's done for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. So if I think I touched on this on the last episode too. If I was Dr. Evil, I would plan to do one in the spring because people have already eaten the crops. Nothing's been planted yet in the spring. If EMP goes off, you wouldn't be able to plant those crops, fertilize them, or anything, or harvest them at that point before you get any repairs done. So you'd miss an entire growing season. So I mean, I think last time we did this show, there was a 6-week lead time on food supply worldwide.
Yep.
But I didn't get a reference for it before the show started, but I'm 90% sure that they said we're actually down to about 3 statistically, 3 weeks lead time, thanks to the corona. So I mean, basically with temporary foreign workers not showing up, and a couple other missed seasons, a couple hurricanes here and there, a couple rice paddies getting thrown out of whack, and everything else, we've actually got like a critically low food supply, like surplus right now. So.
Yep.
So if you can imagine if the North American breadbasket is offline for just a year, you're going to have a problem.
Oh yeah, it was offline just for a little bit there with Corona, and we were seeing a little bit of panic for food, right?
Yeah. So, but let's get to the fun part of the episode.
Yeah. So some EMP-proof items. Best one on the list: firearms.
Yay!
Woohoo!
I mean, think about it. Like anything mechanical, like the old style watches, like wind-up watches, and firearms, that don't require like electronics. Like I mean, I remember seeing an article on those firearms that had electronic triggers and stuff like. Why would I ever want one of those? No. But that is certainly one.
And then, of course, bullets. Need those for the firearms.
You do, and they don't get touched off by EMPs either. So
no. So cash, gold, and silver. So like we mentioned a little bit earlier there, as soon as the EMP knocks out any kind of electronics in the area, your ATMs are gone, your point of sale systems are gone, everything's offline basically. So really one of your main ways to obtain new goods besides bartering with other goods that you do have is going to be cash.
Although one thing I learned in that, I think I was stuck in a Halifax power outage last year, half these places can't even take cash anymore because they have to run the thing through the till to update the inventory.
And heaven forbid anybody do math in their head.
Well, yeah. I mean, think of the average high school graduate now, what they're teaching in math. I mean, they're not going to be able to do 5% GST and 8% PST or whatever your local thing is.
I can't do that in my head.
But more importantly, like I said, like they can't update their in-store inventory, which is what their entire store just-in-time delivery system works on. So they don't want to sell you anything. So you might have cash and they might have a good that they're willing to sell, but in reality they can't because it would fuck with their. Sorry, dang it, wrong show.
I'll hit the explicit button.
it would mess with their inventory and or some orders for next week. Yeah. So yeah, cash is like person exchange.
Yeah, it's good to have some on hand, but it might not be useful. You might be stuck to just bartering depending on the way things operate in your area.
Yeah.
Another thing, EMP proof items is tools. Of course, not power tools, but your hand tools. So make sure you have some of those on hand.
Yeah, well, and a good place to get that is like the Restore or like
Yep.
Goodwill next to New, whatever you would call your local store.
Garage sales.
Garage sales, because there's
Yep.
usually some guy clearing out his old hand tools, and
Yep.
I mean they're cheap, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Take them, put them in a drawer somewhere, and then next thing you know, something happens. You've got them.
Carol brings up a good point on the listener chat there that the barter system will always survive and prevail. Indeed.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
It's
EMP
been around for as long as humans have been.
Yeah, chickens don't get affected by EMP, surprisingly.
Wow, look at that. They're not chick yet.
Yeah, that's right. A quick question from John too. Off topic, but I was wondering how long plastic bottled water stays good. We did talk on that on the water episode, didn't we?
I believe we did. Yeah, we did touch on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it really depends on really where you're storing it, and if there's any kind of light that penetrates into it, that'll help degrade it. But if you're keeping it in kind of a dark area, I think you can almost keep it indefinitely.
I don't know if my camera's working yet or not, Eric, but
it is.
This little bottled water right here. This is they claim that their plastic is made out of like vegetables, whatever.
Okay.
If than say a different type of plastic, you have to worry about plastic leaching into the water. You have to worry about a bunch of other things, but generally, years, not months. That's for sure. I mean, as far as bottled water goes, you're gonna have a long time to worry about that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of where you're storing it.
Yeah,
and what you're storing it in. That was a good point.
That's true. Yeah, like I said, some containers will degrade faster than others, but
yeah. Some other things that are EMP proof. So books.
Not to be confused with ebooks, though.
No, yeah, no. If you've got it on your tablet or your ebook reader or whatever, you're going to want to have that in a Faraday cage or an EMP box or something, which we'll touch on later. But yeah, actual paper books, if people remember what those are.
Well, and the other thing I've been actually meaning to doing it, but there's a couple of critical PDF files that I'd love to print off, like whether it be like generator manuals or whatever.
Yep.
And rather than lose them in case there's a power outage extended or an EMP or anything else, I'd probably be well served to print off a lot of these things, just to have it in a binder, shove it in a closet somewhere or whatever, just to have them handy. But guilty.
Yeah, I've done the same. I've got a lot of electronic versions of stuff, and I kind of built that into my system. And yeah, if I lose the computers or the electronic devices, then I lose the documents. So I have to do the same. I have to find a way to print off the most important ones, the ones I think I'm going to need, and find somewhere to store it.
Yeah.
Medication. Again, well, EMP proof.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't need to be refrigerated.
Well, yeah, then you're in trouble.
Because one of those books you mentioned there, 1 second after, that one of the ongoing problems was the refrigerating his daughter's insulin, right?
Yep. Yeah, I was leaning more towards just like pill form and such like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as you're throwing it in a fridge or something, yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah. Most first aid items, again, there's no electronics there, so we're kind of rambling off a list of stuff that's probably already going to be in your go bag or your emergency kit of some sort.
But it also reinforces the fact that this is what you should have for a general pile of stuff too, right?
Absolutely. Water and food, same thing. Just keeping in mind that if you have to somehow cook that food, well, you're going to have to start a fire of some sort because your other electronics are not going to be working, like your stove or your microwave. So,
well, and it's going to go up in value a heck of a lot more if something like this does go off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. An analog AM or FM crank radio.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw that you've written that one down, I was like, because my emergency crank radio actually is a digital tuner.
Yeah. So it's fried.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. So you want to find something that's completely analog, and then the same with a clock or a watch. If you want to continue keeping ahead of the time or knowing what time it is, find an analog clock or a watch or something, and then you'll still know for a while at least what time it is.
Well, that's where that Goodwill trip to the thrift store or whatever, those alarm clocks that you have wind up in the back.
Yep.
If you find one of those, that'd be a pretty good catch at this point.
Oh yeah. John in the live chat mentions firearms guys don't think of night vision and thermal optics.
True. They might not. Well, they will not survive if there's a strong enough EMP. But it also depends on the antenna length too, right? Because for example, like even red dots, for red dot sites, same thing. They'd be susceptible, but depends on what kind of container they're in. Depends on sometimes stuff in garages versus out in the open would be affected. But the electrical antenna length on those things are really small.
Yep.
So hopefully they survive.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Or get a spare set and put it in a Faraday cage.
Yeah, exactly. What else we got on the list here? Fuel. It's another one. Engines of carburetors.
Yeah, so if you have a carbureted engine, it also has like the old point system with like a distributor cap and stuff.
Yep.
Motorbikes. Okay. Yeah, a lot of motorbikes would be okay, like especially the old vintage bikes and stuff. But as soon as you start introducing like electronic gear shifting and fuel injection and everything else, you're done.
Yep. Start getting in the trouble there.
I thought actually my quad was good until such time as I realized that it had an electronic shifter as well, so that's a problem. But it has a carburetor and it has like a point system and everything else. But
it'll start at least.
It'll start. It'll run. That's what it.
Incandescent bulbs. So that's an interesting one with everybody switching over to LED. Just remember, they're susceptible, right? So your incandescent bulbs are still going to work. Your LEDs, nope.
Well, think about your old mag lights. Remember, they used to have the incandescent bulbs, and they were switching all of them over from the Krypton to the LED. Yeah. If
you got that old mag light, keep it handy.
Yeah,
because it'll be useful. And then, of course, we have to mention food again.
Yeah,
just because.
So, how can we protect against all this?
So building an EMP box or Faraday cage. So first of all, in the preparedness community, you're going to hear people refer to it either by a Faraday cage or some will refer to it as an EMP box. You'll get into all kinds of arguments with people in regards to what to call it, what it is, what it isn't. The whole idea of it, no matter what you're going to call it, the idea is to protect against electronic items from the EMP, right? So you want to make sure that your radio or whatever electronic device it is that you're trying to protect is not affected by the pulse if and or when it happens. So whatever you want to call it. That's fine. Whatever name you want to give it, doesn't matter. It's going to have the same idea, same principle behind it. So some popular items that people will use, because these are things you can build at home. It doesn't necessarily have to be something you can purchase. Of course, you can purchase them from retailers online. They are out there. They are available if you want to go that route instead of building your own. But if you do want to make your own, some popular items that you will see mentioned are galvanized garbage cans, microwaves, don't use them, and ammo cans.
Yeah, so I was going to say the microwaves, just to explain why. I think it was a couple guys online actually had a video about how microwaves will block signals and stuff, but the frequency of these EMP different than what a microwave will block.
Yeah.
So the little screen on the front is still like a wide open thing as far as EMP is concerned, because it has to be more of a solid metal.
Yeah. So you are going to see microwaves suggested online. If you want to try it, well, if an EMP comes through, come back and let us know at feedback@podcast.ca. But we're going to suggest that you not use a microwave. But galvanized trash cans and ammo cans are other items that you'll see on YouTube videos on how to make them and such. Seems like a better idea. The whole idea, it doesn't have to be a trash can. It doesn't have to be an ammo can. It can be all kinds of other things. The key is it's going to be a metal conductive box on the outside, and it's lined on the inside with a non-conductive interior layer. So the idea is that the EMP will travel along the outside of the box and not penetrate into the box. If it doesn't penetrate into the box, it's not going to fry or zap or whatever word you want to use the devices that are inside the box.
So the non-conductive materials can be anything like glass, plastic, anything that won't conduct electricity, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you want to make sure that it's in there and it's good and tight, lined inside the box. You don't want any cracks or openings or any way for the electricity or the EMP to make its way into the box. So it does take some attention to detail and making sure that everything's sealed properly, because one little crack, is opening you up and making you susceptible to having your devices fried that are in the box. So taking your time is certainly something you want to do. One of the major things that you want to look out for is sealing. So once you have your box made, you want to be able to have a proper seal on it. So you'll see a lot of the time for the galvanized trash cans specifically, it'll be suggested that you just take aluminum tape or preferably copper tape. It's a bit of a better conductor, and just tape all the way around the lid of the trash can and tape it to the body of the trash can. And then that way you've got that lid sealed off. But at the same time, there's going to be times where you're going to want to access your items that are in that trash can or in your box, and taping it closed is just simply inconvenient. You can open it, you can cut it open, but it just becomes a pain, right? So if you're not planning on accessing your box or taking out the electronics that are in there, if you've got like a backup set of like a radio and a backup set of like a tablet or whatever it is you're looking to save, and you don't ever want to access it until an EMP happens, then the tape route's not ever going to be an issue for you.
Well, plus you can wrap extra layers of stuff over top of it. So this is where the tinfoil comes in. Hey,
exactly.
So
and you can make a hat.
Yeah, you can make your hat, and then you can actually like wrap it around the box as well, because extra layers is actually going to increase the efficiency of the Faraday cage.
Exactly.
And like you said, it's basically just the equivalent of like an airtight bomb shelter for electricity.
Yeah.
So
now if you are looking to gain access to those devices, or they're going to be ones that you're going to be using from time to time, and this isn't a close the box off, put it in a corner, never look at it again scenario, you can make a seal. And you can do that with different ways. I've seen it where they've just taken like a piece of foam or a piece of rubber and then put the aluminum tape around that, and then taped it along the seal, so along the edge of the garbage can lid. And then you put the lid on and it creates a seal there. And then that foam with the conductive tape around it is still going to conduct the energy, and it's not going to allow it to leak into the can. I've also seen some commercially available seals as well that you can purchase. Same idea. They've just been mass manufactured for sealing up the ammo cans and the trash cans. But the whole idea is you want that seal to prevent the EMP energy from leaking into the can or into the box or into whatever it is you're using. Because as soon as there's the ability for that energy to get into the box, your devices are zapped. So the way I kind of think of it is you're preventing, it's almost like thinking of preventing water from getting in through that seal, but it's electricity. And you just want to make sure that it's a good tight seal. It's a conductive material that is sealing that off. And then in theory, you shouldn't have any issues, and your devices should still be good if an EMP was to happen.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, quick thing. Bane Ironhand mentioned the kerosene lanterns. Absolutely, yeah. Kerosene lanterns are EMP proof, as well as the little propane powered ones, as long as it's got spare mantles and everything else, because it fire. So
it does not stop fire. That's correct.
There you go. Older diesel engines. Good point with that from Jeff. If they have non-electronic injectors, they'll run apparently. And plus, of course, they work on compression, so they don't. Versus a spark plugs, they don't require like a magneto system or an electronic ignition system. As long as they have compression on the cylinders, they're going to fire. So, yeah, diesel engines obviously have a little bit more resiliency against EMP. And unlike what people would think, not every vehicle is going to be affected the same way from EMP, depending on where the electrical antennas are for the certain things. They did some testing back in the early 90s, I think it was. And surprisingly, it was only about 30% of the vehicles that wouldn't run. The rest of them would run, but we're missing like a heater. One didn't have a defrost, and one, there's actually like a different result. That is something. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Bane Iron has another comment here about if you get tinfoil on sale and wrap a quad in tinfoil, it'll be fine, or do I need a really big trash can? You need the tinfoil, and you need an insulator between the tinfoil and the quad.
Yeah. Although it'd look really cool, though. Really,
it would. Yeah, you'd stand out if you tried to run it down Main Street.
Yeah, sooner or later there's gonna be a break between where the tinfoil ends and the suspension begins, or something. So that's a problem too.
Yeah, that's an issue. Yeah, I'd go with instead of a big trash can, I'd probably go with a custom built box of some sort,
or a custom built steel shed.
Yes.
There's that, because as long as the steel wraps all the way around and you have the floor won't matter because it's gonna be away from the EMP source.
Yep.
But as long as the floor is non-conductive, you'd be okay. He did bring up a good point as well, that you can usually turn start the diesels, meaning like roll them downhill and get them going.
Oh, good point. Yep.
So yeah, just like the old Tacomas and stuff I used to have, I could just roll them down the hill and just turn the key and start it if the battery's dead.
Yep.
Same idea.
Yep. And that way you don't need your electric starter. Good point.
Just park it uphill.
Yep. What else do I have here? Yeah, like I said, the tricky part is going to be getting that seal. That's the tricky part. Is as long as you can figure out a way that you're happy and you think you've got a good solid seal on whatever type of box it is you're building, whether it be a small little Faraday box or EMP box for just a handheld portable radio, or a little laptop computer or something, or if you're building one big enough for your ATV. And if you want that sealed proper, then you're going to have problems.
That's pretty much it here.
Yeah. And I'm planning on trying to build one of these myself in the next little while as we renovate and move stuff around. So if I do end up building one, I'll put a video up on the YouTube here and let everybody know how it went and what I think went well and what I think didn't go well, and help some people out maybe building one themselves.
Cool.
Yeah, and I did put a list here of some books to get you thinking. And if you have a look at our support page at prepperpodcast.ca/support, there's a couple of links to Amazon there for these books. But one is 1 Second After, and one is Chaos Erupts. So they're just get you thinking a little bit. They're all based around EMPs happening, and get the mind flowing a little bit. If you do end up purchasing them through our link, we get a little bit of a kickback. It helps fund the show, so it doesn't cost you any extra to use the links either.
Cool. There's a couple ones available for free on the internet as well, via streaming sites or whatever. But I think the second one, Lights Out, by a guy called Half Fast, as not opposed to half-assed. Yeah. Anyways, so it's just called Lights Out, and his name is Half Fast. And then the other one is 77 Days in September, both dealing with EMP. And one guy ended up walking home across a good chunk of the States after an EMP took out his airplane, actually, like he was just trying to travel home. So, yeah, 77-day walk for him. I threw in a bunch of old notes from the previous EMP episode into the show notes as well. But actually, this is where the listeners are going to have to come in. So we kind of talked about this twice, but we don't want to start repeating ourselves too much. So if anybody has anything they want to ask or get us to cover, we'll take questions or whatever, and we'll look them up as best we can and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, and if you want us to expand on previous episodes as well, we certainly can. We're all learning here as we move along, and as we record episodes, we're of course still refining things and learning new things as we go. So if you want us to expand on past episodes, we're happy to do that as well, as we have with this topic.
Cool. Podcast challenge time.
Let's move into the podcast challenge. Yeah.
All right. So tell you what, we're going to try and ask our listeners to build a small Faraday cage, anything from an ammo box, garbage can, whatever. Pictures or it didn't happen, but it is certainly an easy, small, and cheap project to do. Even if you just have a spare bit of like insulating styrofoam or whatever, and or an ammo can, just show us what you came up with. I mean, we're always looking for ideas ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. And keep in mind that ammo can is going to have a rubber gasket to seal the can off. You're going to want to find a way to make that conductive, because it's not going to stop the EMP from leaking in. But it is a good spot to start with a seal. You just got to figure out a way to do the conductive thing with it. Let's move to upcoming events. So we've got TACCOM Canada 2020. It is still delayed until April 23rd to the 25th, 2021. So you can see details for the show. The ticket link is on the website at prepperpodcast.ca. Look to the right there, and there will be a link. You can't miss it. Big black square. It says TACCOM 2020 on it.
Cool. I'm just plugging these guys hard because they only had like a month to do it this year, and they're going to be almost done here in another month or so. So please attend a Maple Seed event if you can. Some basic marksmanship skills are taught, and it's a fun time had by all. .com. And yeah, they're going to be doing a bunch of stuff next year, providing nothing else goes haywire.
Faded out there a second there, Ian. The website's mapleseedrifleman.com.
MapleSeedRifleman.com. And like I said, funds had by all, a good basic marksmanship course. And honestly, I got to tell you, it's I'm glad I went. And I didn't get much chance to talk about it last week because I was kind of fading in and out as well. But no, definitely worth my time to go, and great people teaching it. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. So
awesome. And we'll do one final shameless plug for prepperpodcast.ca/support. New page that I just set up between the last couple of episodes. It's got a bunch of Amazon links there. Check it out. It's stuff we're going to keep adding to it. It's things that we figure the listeners would be interested in. Might help you out with your go bag, might help you out with education in the form of books or other tools. The links will take you to the products. Doesn't cost any extra to purchase the products, but Amazon does give us a small little kickback for sending you to them to make the purchase. So that goes to help keep us running here, because there are bills to pay to keep the podcast running.
You got any shout outs?
I do not.
I got one for the traveling prepper. Welcome to the island. He just moved there temporarily because of the COVIDs. So hopefully be able to get some good conferences going and come up with some good idea exchange. So
nice.
Oh.
All right. Well, maybe we'll move into some email, iTunes, and I added Facebook reviews as well, because we've been getting a lot of Facebook messages recently. So
okay, hopefully I don't fade out for this.
Oh, lost you already.
Oh!
I'll read it out. I'll read it. So we've got a message here from Tim. It says, "Hey, I've recently discovered you guys. I like your podcast. Pretty cool stuff. So I guess I'm what you would call a noob on prepping. I've always kind of liked the idea of doing it, but wanted to maybe get your opinion on what to have in a vehicle if you are wheel or power chair bound, or maybe even have some but little movement extremities. What could a person have with them to maybe help them in an emergency, breakdown, or whatever? Also, opinions on maybe what to have for dogs as far as supplies, or is it worth trading your dog to help in a situation? Myself, I have a walker, a coon dog, very good dog for all types of hunting. Thanks in advance." So that's a great thing to ask. Every situation is different. Every person's going to have a different thing that they're going to have to prepare for, or different situations they're going to have to think about in regards to how they're going to put their preps in place. So certainly being wheelchair bound or mobility issues as far as being able to move quickly it's going to be something you're going to have to build into your preps for sure. As far as something to have in your vehicle, you're going to want to make sure you've got an extra way to power that device that's going to assist you in moving around or getting mobile. So whether that be some extra battery banks for the device that you are reliant on, or having a way to charge existing battery banks is obviously, I would think, is going to be a priority. And again, depending on where it is you're located, if it's a hilly area or somewhere that's going to take a lot more power to get around, you're going to need to have a way to charge your batteries more often. Maybe a way to manually move the chair, if that's something you're able to do. You might want to look at maybe having a chair that's able to, I don't know if it even exists, one that can be powered electronically but also manually operated.
Might be an option. Just a lightweight chair, maybe like a backup lightweight chair. There's certainly that, like you said, a charging way to do it, but a second way to call.
I think we lost you again.
How about a second way to call for help other than a cell phone?
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. Yeah, absolutely, a way to get a hold of people.
Let's see here. Also, as far as the dog goes, well, I think my wife would rather trade out me than the dog. So
you beat me to that one.
Yeah, no, I'd say keep the dog no matter what, because I mean, biological security is awesome. I mean, they sense and smell stuff coming long before you do. They are excellent judges of character when it comes to people's intentions. They don't eat a whole lot compared to us. They are 24/7 security. Obviously the hunting aspect you mentioned, the fact is they can help you gather food.
Yeah, and you've already built that trust relationship with that animal. So why give that away?
Yeah, no, that's a last to give away thing is the dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and Bane Ironhand's actually got a good point here in the live chat. this would actually be a really good topic for a full show.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll have to,
Great point.
but we'll look for suggestions on that, because I mean, not being overly disabled myself, and I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm just saying, I can't appreciate what a lot of these people go through. So I think there'd be a lot of
we'd have to definitely do some research and maybe talk to some experts in the field as far as mobility goes, and see if we can get some opinions and some information from people that actually deal with these types of devices on a daily basis, and maybe we'll turn it into a full topic.
Yeah, I was just thinking about like hearing and vision problems too. That could be a thing too. So no, we'll write that down for sure.
Yeah, but at least we've gained a couple of things to think about, Tim, and we will start putting some show notes together for a future episode, and I'll reach out. I'll shoot you a message on Facebook Messenger there when we're ready to put the show out there. And actually, I think it's a great idea for a topic. I didn't even consider that until just now. Awesome. Well, with that, I will bring episode 82 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, or of course your favorite podcast app. And please help us out. Submit a review. It helps other people find us.
All right, we record these shows live on Facebook and YouTube. If you want an early peek at the show, please subscribe to YouTube channel Canadian Prepper Podcast and click on the notifications tab. That's going to give you alerts when we're going live. You can reach me directly by emailing me at theislandretreat@gmail.com. You can also find my Canadian Patriot Podcast on iTunes and YouTube, recording Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. There you can find us discussing why government waste and society makes me yearn for the Carrington event.
You get me every week.
Yeah.
So please check out Rapid Survival at rapidsurvival.com. You can get me there on the live chat while you're buying some prepper gear. You can also email me at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. So thanks for joining us this evening. And until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
and keep learning.